Hi, welcome to GenXGrownUp. My name is Mo, and I'm a GenXGrownUp. Thanks for joining me in another edition of Diminishing Returns, where I take a look at a remake of a movie that I liked when I was a kid and see how the two stack up against each other. Today, we're going to be looking at Robocop, a movie I loved as a kid growing up. It came out in 1987, and it starred Peter Weller, the title role, who you might know for some cult classics like Buckaroo Banzai or Naked Lunch. And more recently, he was in the last Star Trek Into Darkness movie as the main bad guy in it. The remake was done in 2014 and starred Joel Kinnaman, who you might know from Suicide Squad, and he had a reoccurring role, I believe, on House of Cards, assuming that's still going on. I don't know what's going on with that show, but anyway. The basic plot between the two movies is basically the same. There's an evil corporation that is trying to introduce robotic law enforcement into the United States. People in the United States are against it, we'll figure. And so, as a way of getting their foot in the door and help with public opinion, they come up with a hybrid approach where they basically take a person and meld them with the machine, so that way it's not really robotic, it's really a person controlling it. The main character in this is a police officer who gets who gets hurt badly by bad guys and gets pulled into and used in this Robocop program. Here's some trivia. What was the final body count in the original Robocop? Think about that, and I'll have the answer for you at the end of this show. One of the big differences I saw right away was the way they kind of portrayed society going forward, right? Because both of these movies are supposed to take place in the future, and how they looked at how the United States gets its news. You can see these next clips how, in the 87 version, they kind of thought that we'd still have the talking heads kind of newscast, traditional newscast, where they're smiling and cheerful no matter what news they give. And the other one, which is more of a modern day take on it, obviously, where you're going to see it's a very biased, manipulative, almost, newscast. So take a look.
This is Media Break. You give us 3 minutes, and we'll give you the world.
Good morning. I'm Casey Wong with Jess Perkins. Top story, Pretoria. The threat of nuclear confrontation in South Africa escalated today when the ruling white military government of that besieged city-state unveiled a French-made neutron bomb and affirmed its willingness to use the 3-megaton device as the city's last line of defense.
And the president's first press conference from the Star Wars orbiting peace platform got off to a shaky start when power failed, causing a brief but harmless period of weightlessness for the visiting president and his staff. We'll be back in a moment.
Kelly? Kelly, are you all right? Kelly!
We're okay, Pat. Our robots have just repelled some suicide bombers, but...
I'm sorry, Kelly, but for security reasons, the Pentagon's going to cut our feed to Tehran. But please, be careful.
Yeah, I'll continue to stand by.
Now you see how fundamental these robots are to our foreign policy. So then tell me, why can't we use these machines here at home? Why is America so robophobic?
In an effort to, I think, make the characters more multi-dimensional, they took some of the stuff that basically, in the first Robocop, they tell his family that he's dead, right? So that makes it kind of simpler in some sense. There's a couple scenes where she thinks he sees that he's alive, and when he starts remembering who he is. But really, that was not a key part of the plot. The second movie, though, they believe, the wife thinks he's still alive, knows he's still alive. They talk during the process, and there's some struggle about how they're going to maintain the relationship. I don't know how successful that was. I mean, I don't know how successful a relationship would be between somebody who's just basically a head versus having a full body like a normal person. But take a look at these couple scenes and you can see how they really tried to increase the dimensions of the characters.
Welcome, shopper. Let's take a stroll through your new home.
Wow. Can you do that, Dad?
Accept the connection.
It's so good to finally see you.
I was gonna say the same thing. I'm sorry. I know how I must look to you.
I think you look beautiful. Are they treating you okay, baby?
So far, Dr. Norton, he seems like a nice guy.
Let's take a look at the numbers and see how well the original and the remake stacked up against each other. The original Robocop cost $28 million to produce, and all the numbers I'm giving have been adjusted for inflation. Whereas the 2014 cost $125 million to produce. So, big difference there. Next is how much they generated in revenue. The first Robocop generated $116 million, and the remake generated $253 million, and that's worldwide. The original Robocop made about $88 million in profit, whereas the remake made $128 million, so it actually made more money. As interesting as that is, if you look at just how much it made versus how much it cost, you can see the original one actually made about 4 times what was invested in it, whereas the remake only made about 2.4 times. One made more money, but one was definitely more profitable, I think, from a percentage standpoint. And let's not forget the all-important Rotten Tomato ratings. The 1987 Robocop had a Rotten Tomato rating of 88%, which is pretty damn high, whereas the remake, 49%. So we kind of see where the popular opinion was on this one. So, what do I think? Well, my personal opinion, it seemed like the 2014 version was trying to create a more mature, grown-up version of the original 87 movie. I think in doing that, it lost something. The original, part of the thing that made it funny was the tongue-in-cheek humor, the way the parodies almost of how they saw things progressing, where our sitcoms are going to be just basically a guy giving a one-liner all the time and the whole population cracking up over it. Whereas the new one, you can see they're trying to add like some depth and tackle some issues that maybe they felt that the first movie didn't tackle. Like, okay, how is this man going to maintain a relationship with his family? Well, I don't know. And I don't know if they did a really good job of handling that. It was a good movie. I think the remake was a good movie. I think the special effects were a lot better, obviously. In doing some research, I found out that the original Robocop, all the computer effects were done with an Amiga computer, which, thinking about that, your phone has more processing power. So, hats off to them for doing what they could. So, was it worth it? Between the numbers and just my personal opinion, I'd say probably not. I mean, it wasn't a bad movie again, but it's never going to be Robocop. Okay, let me give you the answer to that question I posed at the beginning of the video, which was, what was the final body count in the original Robocop? Well, here's the answer. Hey, thanks for watching.
Don't you know that you're a grown-up? Subscribe to GenXGrownUp by clicking right here and enable notifications so you won't miss a thing. Use the comments down below to tell us what you think, and while you're there, a thumbs up would be great too. Please share this online wherever you hang out. Connect with GXG on social networks by clicking right here.